Hello YouTube, this is Omid here bringing another zombie storyline discussion video. In this episode I'm going to be looking at the canon outcomes of the Easter eggs and how this might affect future maps, as well as the storyline obviously. So, just to go for it, the story ever since Black Ops 1 Ascension I guess has been always told through the Easter eggs of the map. The main quest ones complete a series of tasks and you get a certain outcome. In Black Ops 2, these Easter eggs have all revolved around the various towers that Maxis and Rictofen are competing against each other to activate to further their causes, which I've discussed in other videos. Now, obviously, when you do the Easter egg, there's two roads you can take. You can follow Maxis or you can follow Rictofen, and each one leads to a different outcome, which would have a very big impact on the story. And basically, you know, because you can technically do either, there isn't, you know, it's hard to say which one is actually the canon, the official version of, you know, the story's outcome. But I'm going to try and pin that down and come up with a, you know, a certain conclusion as to this guy definitely captured this tower. Now, in the zombies. So, because there's only one possible outcome that could be considered canon, because they can't both have the tower, this would be determined in the next map. So, for example, Transit's tower would, you know, the result of it would be shown by evidence in Die-Rise. Die-Rise's tower, the official outcome would be shown in the next DLC, and so on and so forth. So, therefore, in looking for evidence as to why their Maxis or Rictofen captured the Green Run Tower, we'd have to look in Die-Rise, which is what I've done. And basically I've looked at the evidence, and because obviously evidence in zombies is so subjective, you know, you could interpret the results to say Rictofen captured it or Maxis captured it, but in my opinion the evidence strongly supports the fact that Maxis has captured the Green Run Tower. So that's what I'm going to be covering this episode. If you want me to cover what Rictofen, you know, what evidence Rictofen has, I could. It's not that much compared to Maxis's, but if you really want to, just leave in the comments and I'll make the video. So, activating the tower, any tower, has two effects that have been mentioned in the storyline through the radios. The first is increased levels of control over whatever element was used in the Easter egg as to activating that tower, and then which it would be immediate. So as soon as you activate the tower to that side, the next DLC will experience the outcome of that. But there's also another effect of the towers, which is when all the towers are connected together through a network, because we hear through the radios Maxis and Rictofen are competing to convince survivors all over the world to activate the various towers for them. So there's two effects there. Each tower activation in itself has one effect, which you see immediately, but then there's also another effect which happens when you have a large number of towers all hooked up to the same network, you know, all hooked up to Maxis or all hooked up to Rictofen, and I don't think we'll be seeing that effect in the storyline until the end, where they've linked up as much towers as they possibly can. So obviously we'll be looking at the first effect, because that's the only one we can really tell who captured what. So in the Green Run Tower, Maxis' side involved electricity. You had to put pylons at strategic parts of the map and get the Avogadro and kill him. However, Richtoven's side of the Green Run Tower involved 115, mostly using the explosives to kill zombies under the tower to release the element 115 in their bodies. Also, there was the heat about using the thrusterdyne to heat up the towers. So his side all involved 115 mainly. I think that's the main element we can take from it. But in Die-Rise, Max's side was different. It involved sacrifices to religious deities by killing zombies in the Buddha room, or whatever you want to call it, and also virile devices by getting the orbs from the dragon's mouths, putting them in the lion's paws, and then flinging them into the tower. But Rictoven's side again only involved 115 from flinging zombies into the tower itself. So that's the first piece of evidence. Between the two maps, Max's side has involved different elements. Rictoven's side involves the same element, which would indicate that Rictofen was unsuccessful in Green Run, and he's still having to get the players to use 115 to activate the tower so he can control it better. But Maxis was successful in the green run tower, so he's moved on to his next objective. If you see what I mean, he's taking one step forward. Rictofen's still on his first step. Okay. Also, there's also Rictofen's attitude. In Transit, he was very calm, relaxed about doing the tower, but in Dire Race, he's a lot more aggressive and a lot more nervous, I guess you could say, about the results, because he blackmails Samuel into like doing what he wants by threatening to reveal his past to the others in the intro.
Well, maybe I don't wanna, huh? Did you think of that? Oh, you can't tell them about the flesh. What I did, they'd kill me if they knew.
And he also like describes his incentives to try and convince Samuel what he's doing is right.
Vital energy flows through all things, living or dead. My power to create this force is fragile and limited. That is why I need your help.
But yeah, you know, I think obviously this isn't as strong as the other points, but it does seem to lead up to something, because Maxis is sort of the same, but Rictofen is a lot more panicky, a lot more aggravated in Die Rise, which sort of indicates that maybe he's afraid these survivors are going to become Maxis's followers but not his, and he's trying very hard to win them back over. And then the last piece of evidence, which is definitely the one that really convinced me that Maxis is the one that took green run, is that in Transit, Maxis cannot communicate when the power is turned on, as revealed through various radio messages.
Excellent! You have freed it! But now, you must turn off the power. An active power grid will disrupt all communications between us and make it impossible to accomplish the mission I have for you. Shut down the power. It appears I have difficulty speaking. Devices with the power. Shut the power. Me.
But in Die Rise, he can.
The energy fields are no longer disrupting my communications via electrical devices. You will hear me, and you should listen.
Now, his green run side involved electricity, so therefore, through activating the green run tower, Maxis has gained an increased level of control over electricity, which has allowed him to communicate while there is an active power grid in the area. Now, obviously, as he's a computer and can only speak through, electrical devices, I guess you'd say radios, TVs, those kind of things, being able to communicate when there's an active power grid in the area would definitely help his cause. He can talk to survivors a lot more, he can coordinate them a lot more. So it does make sense, because in Transit he can't. His side of the Easter egg involved electricity, and in Die Rise he can, thanks to this increased level of control. So that's my theory. Maxis was successful in Green Run, and through doing so he's allowed to communicate when electrical grids are active, and in Die Rise we see those results. Now, the question is, how did Treyarch decide that? Because obviously they could have gone either Maxis or Rictofen was successful in Green Run, but they went for Maxis, so why is that? Now, there's various ways they could do that. For example, the first side of the tower that's completed is the one they go with, but I think the most likely one is they have some kind of hidden software that tells them the number of times each side has been completed. So every time you complete Rictofen's side, it comes up as a 1 on their screen. Every time someone completes Maxis, same idea. And basically, until they're at the kind of stage of development for Die Rise where they have to choose one or the other, they then look at how many times each side has been completed, and whatever side has been completed the most and is therefore the most popular by the community, that's the one that is the official storyline. It's sort of like giving the player some input into the story. However small and hard to see, still some input. Now, why was Maxis chosen? If this is the case, why did the community choose Maxis for Transit? Now, the reason for this is I think Maxis' side of the Tower Babel Easter egg was a lot easier than Rictofen's. Rictofen's, you had to go all over the map to all those obscure areas to build the Thrustadyne. everyone had to get an EMP grenade out of the box, which is virtually impossible. You know, you had to spend a lot of time in a very small area using explosives. It was a very hard Easter egg to do compared to Maxis, where you had to put down 2 turbines, kill the Avogadro, put down 2 more turbines. Obviously that had to be done when the power's turned off, but still, you know, it's a lot easier, lot less chance involved than Rictofen's, especially when they added them the painkiller permanent power up, or not permanent, persistent. I always say that. Persistent power up, because you know you can effectively have Juggernog, which is the most important perk and the most, you know, acute loss of your ability to fight when the power's turned off. But you know what I mean. Maxis' side was easier than Rictofen's, so therefore more people did Maxis' Tower of Babel side than Rictofen's, which is why Treyarch decided, okay, Maxis is the canon, the kit, whatever you want to call it. So that's where the theory sort of ends, but it also has some implications on future DLC, which I'm going to discuss now, which is on Die Rise, there's the high maintenance Easter egg again, the second tower, but it's different this time. Rictofen's side is a lot easier than Maxis's. You know, in his side, there's no chance involved, everything can be done. All you have to do is like use this liquefier, which can be built, no chance involved, fleeing some zombies around and then punching the code. Whereas on Max's side, not only do you have to do most of that already, like fleeing the orbs around, kill zombies in the booter room, you also had to get the pack-a-punch ballistic knife, and that of course means relying on the box, relying on cans and all that follows. So I'm not sure, is Treyarch like trying to compensate? You know, they don't want one side of the eternal battle to be getting too powerful, so they alternated the difficulty of the 2 Easter eggs to try and get the community to vote for Rictofen. And you know, if they're doing that, I mean, obviously until the next DLC we don't know who's officially won in Die Rise, but what would happen, because it seems from the evidence I've just stated that Rictofen is going to be the one who officially takes the Die Rise tower. But what would that mean? Because Maxis used the Green Run tower to be able to talk when power grids are on, but what can Rictofen do with increased levels of control over element 115, which is of course what's reanimating the zombies? Now, does that mean, for example, there's going to be new special zombies that are tougher, or maybe like even new zombie AI? Like for example, Rictofen can control the zombies more, so he can use them more strategically. I don't know really. I mean, I'm not really sure what could happen, but it's all very interesting. And yeah, so this has been Agent. Thank you for listening to my ideas. As always, post feedback in the comments below, and goodbye.